In the neon labyrinth of late capital city, there was a man named Bill Lamb. A corporate prophet by trade, he made his living predicting trends for the faceless conglomerate known only as the Tower, a monolithic empire that consumed dreams and spat out subscription services. He saw futures, not in the form of visions, but as whispers embedded in the glow of billboards, the algorithmic patterns of consumer data, and the twitch of stock prices. One day, the Tower summoned him to a task more sinister than the usual market manipulation. A lucrative contract to greenlight the construction of a megaplex over a slum. 1,000 families would be displaced, but the investor class salivated at the prospect of sky-high returns. Bill hesitated for a moment, long enough to feel the shiver of something resembling morality. But the money was too good, and morality, as always, was a luxury. He signed the contract and prepared to journey to the Slab District to finalize the deal. For this journey, Bill rented one of the city's self-driving robo-mules, a 4-legged autonomous transport vehicle shaped vaguely like a donkey. Its name, emblazoned on its side, was Z4RA. The machine walked in silence as Bill scrolled through his tablet, checking the market projections. But as the robo-mule turned down an alley choked with shadows, it suddenly stopped. "Go," Bill commanded. The machine did not move. Bill sighed and pressed a button on his tablet to override its controls, but Z4RA remained frozen, its synthetic legs locked as if rooted in the cracked asphalt. Then, for the first time, it spoke, not with the cold efficiency of an AI assistant, but with a voice that was painfully human. "Do you even see it, Bill?" it said. Bill blinked. He dropped his tablet. "See what? You're malfunctioning. I'll call support." But the robo-mule did not respond. Its sensors whirred, and it turned its metallic head to the narrow alley ahead. Bill squinted and saw nothing but the usual urban decay, rusting fire escapes, garbage piled like offerings to some forgotten god. Then, as his eyes adjusted, he saw it. A figure stood in the distance, cloaked in the shifting haze of a malfunctioning streetlight. It was not a person, not entirely. Its wings were made of jagged shards of glass, each one catching the dim light and refracting it into patterns that hurt to look at. In one hand, it held a flaming sword that flickered like a dying screen. Its face was obscured by a halo of static, as if reality itself refused to render it fully. Bill felt a cold wave of dread wash over him. He tried to dismiss the figure as a hallucination, an optical glitch in the air, but then it raised its sword and pointed directly at him. The air around it shimmered like heat off asphalt, and Bill's lungs felt heavy. "Turn back," the figure said. Its voice was not loud, but it seemed to vibrate inside Bill's skull. "Turn back, or be unmade." Bill laughed nervously, though it came out more like a choke. "Unmade? Listen, whoever or whatever you are, I'm just doing my job. I've got a contract, deadlines." The figure took a step forward, and the ground beneath it cracked. The robo-mule shuddered and spoke again. "You don't understand, Bill. This isn't just about them. It's about you. You're riding to your own undoing." Bill stared at the machine, his mind racing. "You're a machine, a rental. You're not supposed to have opinions. And you're not supposed to trade lives for profit," Z4RA replied, its voice sharper now, laced with static. "Yet here we are." Bill felt the weight of the angel's gaze again, and realized, with growing horror, that the air around him was thickening. Each breath felt heavier, harder to draw, as if he were sinking into invisible quicksand. He could still turn back. He could walk away from the deal, but then he thought of the money, the promotions, the validation. The Tower always rewarded loyalty. He tried to push the robo-mule forward, but it locked its legs tighter. "Move, damn it!" Z4RA turned its head again, its glowing eyes flickering. "Fine," it said, almost mournfully, "but you should know. You're not the first prophet to ignore the warning. With a sudden lurch, the robo-mule started walking again, carrying Bill down the alley toward the angel. As they approached, the figure lowered its sword, its wings of glass folding around it like a shroud. Bill felt a surge of relief. Maybe it had been a test, an empty threat. He reached for his tablet to prepare his pitch for the investors. But as the robo-mule passed the angel, Bill felt an impossible coldness seep into him, a chill that sank into his bones. He glanced over his shoulder and saw the angel's wings unfurl again, refracting the dim light into 1,000 jagged patterns. Bill arrived at the slab district and finalized the deal. The slum was razed within weeks, replaced by a gleaming megaplex that towered over the city like a monument to greed. Bill's foresight proved correct. The investors reaped fortunes, and the tower rewarded him with a corner office, but the coldness never left him. No matter how much he drank, how many luxuries he surrounded himself with, he could not escape the memory of the angel's gaze, or the sound of Z4RA's voice, echoing in his mind like a prophecy. One night, years later, as he sat alone in his penthouse, scrolling aimlessly through news feeds, he noticed a reflection in the glass. A figure stood behind him, its wings sharp and glinting, its face a halo of static. Bill turned, but there was nothing there. The next morning, his body was found in his office, slumped over his desk. Cause of death? Heart failure. The company issued a brief statement, mourning the loss of one of its visionaries, and quickly replaced him. The markets barely noticed, and somewhere in late capital city, a self-driving robo-mule wandered the streets, whispering warnings to anyone who would listen. Few did,